Set pieces. It's Farrell on it again. Deep one around the back. Quinn has scored. There is the breakthrough goal. It's Andrew Quinn. The underdogs bare their teeth and show their fight in this cup final. Drogheda United strike first.
Welcome to the We Are the Drogs podcast, the Drogheda United fans podcast, proudly sponsored by the Coffee Box.
Hello and welcome to the We Are the Drogs podcast, episode number 18. So once again joined by Owen. How you doing, Owen?
Niall, how are you?
I'm all good. And once again joined by Richie. How are you, Richie?
Alright guys, all good.
Yeah, good stuff, lads. So also tonight we're going to have a special guest who we've had on the podcast before, Mr. John Rice, who's a Sligo Rovers fan, living locally in this neck of the woods. So we got together for a little chat after the Sligo game. Obviously John wasn't very happy about the result. We were, but he wasn't. And we talked about various different things to do with Sligo and Drogs and the over 60s walking football, which John is involved in. I didn't even think he was over 60, but apparently he is. So we'll just go and have a quick chat with John, and then we'll be back to the normal proceedings after that. So, hello to our special guest, John, once again, all the way from Sligo Rovers. How you doing, John?
How are you now? Good evening. Great to be on the show again.
Yeah, great to have you, man. How's all with you?
Well, I tell you, Niall, things are good because, as you probably know, last night we had our home game against Galway United. We have, since I talked to you last, and again, as you will know, we struggled really. I mean, we've won 5 games out of 21. We're second bottom in the league, 18 points. But last night, Niall, we were magnificent. Connacht Derby, 2,500 people Monday night. Nice little drizzle of rain. The ball moving really fast across the pitch. Scored a superb goal, equaliser, and then we got a winner. So it was just so good. So we're on a little bit of a buzz today from that. It was incredibly exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I think that result probably, I won't say it was expected, but I mean the performances you have been putting in, especially the one in Friday night here in Drogheda, the result was coming at some point. You've been playing well.
Yes, well, I'll tell you, that's interesting too, Niall. I was at the Drogheda match on Friday night. Just a nice little side point on that was the guy standing to my immediate left was none other than Anthony Elding, the mighty Anthony Elding, who of course scored the winning goal for Rovers in 2013 Cup final against, Drogheda United. Yes, it was Drogheda United. And he was actually just standing there. As you know, his son, Owen Elding, is playing for the Rovers this season. He's having an outstanding season. He's in the either first or second top goal scorer in the League of Ireland at the moment. An outstanding prospect. I think we talked about him the last day. And it was just nice to stand there and listen to Anthony Senior just going through all the roller coaster emotions when you're a dad. And at the very end, I said to him, I just said to him, "Thank you for your service, sir." And he's just said, "Oh, I just wish I was back out there still." So it never ends. But I thought it was just a nice comment. The guy, I think, would run across and straight onto the pitch, given half a chance. So he's still enjoying it.
He'd probably still be fit enough. Well, he can't be that old. He's in his 40s, I'd say, is he?
Well, he is, yeah. The interesting thing about, so he was, that was 2013. So that's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
He still looks in great shape. And actually, last night I just took time before the game against Galway. We've an outside museum in the showgrounds. You'll probably see it with a sort of a gallery of all former players and some great photographs. And Anthony Elding is one of those players, and it made the point that he donated the boots that he wore in that cup final in 2013 to the Sligo Museum. And I actually went into the Sligo Museum today, and there they are, signed yellow Adidas boots from 2013. It also has the Kieran Kelly gloves from that famous 2010 final against Shamrock Rovers, and it's got Conor O'Grady's boot from the 2010 final against. So if you're short of boots, you know where to go. You can just probably borrow them, we say.
Yeah. All right. Look, you've mentioned that cup final twice now. I think that's enough. We don't really need to be dwelling on that one again.
Yeah, I'm grasping at straws now, definitely now, yeah.
That was one of the worst days of my life in football. It was an absolute nightmare. But anyway, look, we won't talk about it anymore if you don't mind.
I understand that. That is
disaster. So we'll talk a little bit about the game on Friday night, John, if you don't mind. I know it wasn't the result that you wanted, but definitely performance-wise, I think, yeah, like both teams seem to have quite a lot of chances in the first half, but then Sligo came out in that second half and just completely, I think, blitzed Drogheda. Drogheda didn't know what hit them.
Yeah, well, you see, actually, the more I think about it, I was just thinking about it ahead of the podcast, and the sort of pattern in the game that was very much showed our weakness and our strength. We've really struggled this season, Niall, with conceding early goals. And if you look at the first goal that happened, Keady had the ball in midfield, completely comfortable. Nice little passage of play, moving it into the middle. Inexplicably, as we say, Warren Davis just picked his pocket. And then it only took two passes from there. Davis went forward with the ball, played it to the other line, Henry. He stepped inside. I was looking, one of the great advantages of YouTube now is you can slow down the thing and watch it. Like again, Sligo stood off. Now, it was a great finish, a wonderful finish. But you would like to see someone a little bit closer and put a bit more pressure on him. And so straight away, after 8 minutes, we're a goal down. And that has been a pattern all season. We've been 1-0 down after 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then we start playing quite well after that. But usually we've left ourselves too much to do. And again, that's what turned out on Friday night. We had 6 absolutely wonderful chances. Ware, who had a tap in from 6 yards, well saved by the keeper. Young Elding had a chance. Fitzgerald had a chance. Keady had a chance. And Cavan had 2 chances. Now, Drogheda hit the crossbar as well.
Yeah.
And had a bit of a miss. And Ryan Brennan had a header that maybe he could have done better as well. But in general, we might have had 6 or 7 really good chances. Drogheda had about 3. So we should have got something from that game. But the pattern of it, unfortunately, Niall, of conceding early and being caught napping, not warmed up, not starting quick enough, undone us again.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be totally honest with you, Douglas James Taylor, that was an absolutely fantastic goal. And I think he's got 2 goals since the cup final of last year, because he's been out for most of it injured, and he's been coming back gradually getting back to himself. But it was a superb goal from him, and it was a lovely little nick, I thought, from Warren Davis. He's been doing that for a long time for us. Just that little gets the toe in and just nicks the ball. He's been absolutely fantastic at that. But look, we definitely rode our luck. I mean, even Kevin said it in his interview afterwards. Second half, we certainly rode our luck, and people couldn't believe how Sligo couldn't or didn't score, to be honest. But look, these things happen in football, John. We both know that. It's happened to us quite a lot over the years as well, where you play really, really well and have a bucket full of chances and come away with nothing. But we both know it's about creating those chances, and that's what's important going forward, I suppose.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Now, I must admit, I agree with you that the way Warren Davis was so lively there, and he was also so positive when he picked that ball up. I mean, There was only one thing in his mind: let's go forward straight away. There was only 2 of them. And they still managed to create a great chance, and again, fantastic finish. And that's maybe something as well. As you know, Niall, you have to finish, and that was just a great strike. Boom into the top corner. That's a goal. We missed 6, 7, 8 chances. If that happens, you're not going to win. So it was very disappointing. But on the plus side, as a Sligo fan, the fact that we lifted ourselves from Monday night, last night against Galway was fantastic to see. And I'll be honest with you, Niall, we got a little bit of luck ourselves because Galway hit the crossbar at least twice, and they missed the sitter as well, very similar to the one Kiki missed against Drogheda. So I think sometimes you can get a bit of luck back as well. People always say it evens out, don't they? That's what they say.
Yeah, I know. That game finished 2-1 last night, John, did it?
That's right, yeah.
2-1, very good, very good. That's a massive result, and especially in a Connacht derby against Galway, because I know there was a bit of bite in that game, isn't there? There's always a bit of bite. There was a bit of bite in that one last night. A couple of people sent off too, wasn't it?
It was, yes, and that's always disappointing too, because we can't afford, like, a direct send off like that is a 3-match suspension, I think. And our other centre half, Gareth McElroy, actually collided with the wall behind the goals there in Drogheda on Friday night, and he's out now with concussion. I think there's a minimum 3-week thing if you have a head injury or a head bang, so he's out. So we're a bit stuck for centre halves at the minute for the next outing against Bohemians. But we have Ollie Denham. You might remember Ollie Denham was out injured. I think he's been out for 2 months. So he came back on last night and looked very assured again. So we're delighted to have him. So that's going to help. But just as I was saying the last night too, Niall, like we had 5 academy players on the pitch at one stage. These are all kids coming straight out of the under-19s or under-20s as it is now, and playing with great confidence, great aplomb, and it's something that the supporters, I'm sure you're the same, the supporters love to see that, and there's still a tremendous feeling, even though we've 5 out of 21, that everyone is completely behind Russell, and they realise that these are good young kids, and 2,500 is still a good crowd.
Monday.
And a Monday night, yeah. And, when it's raining and so on. We started off the season with 3,800. It always drops off a little bit, but 2.5 is still quite reasonable. How are the crowds working? You're still selling out very well at Drogheda, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we spoke about that before. Like, it's a smaller ground, but you still can't get a ticket for home games. I think I'm not sure of the game on Friday night. I didn't see anything up online to say the game was sold out, but nearly every single game so far this season has been sold out. I'm sure you've seen the new bar up in the corner behind the goal, and then they've done up the lounge now. So there's a lot of kind of hospitality tickets, they're calling them. So there's a good crowd up in the bar, and there's as you probably seen Friday night, the weather was nice. I'm sure there was a lot of people out having a few beers at the back of the goal. I think things like that make a big difference to people too.
They make a huge difference, Niall, yeah. And the last time we were on, we spoke about the Bitter Red Supporters Trust in Sligo organising a fan zone area at the matches where Lochgill Brewery, same as what you're doing, Lochgill Brewery have their beer there. There's a DJ on, and we had it there again last night. Sometimes there's food promotions as well. There's coffee and tea. It just brings everyone together, creates an extra bit of a buzz, and it also means that people go out to the ground earlier, which means that then go and look at the shop as well. And all these things are hugely important. Just since the last time I was talking to Niall, we were talking about Sligo and Bohemians are the 2 fan-owned clubs in the league. And the AGM, the annual general meeting of Sligo Rovers, took place in April. And there was a really clear laying out of the costs and so on, and the income for a club like Sligo. And I'll just go through 1 or 2 key figures in it now and just see how the whole thing works. The income, this is 2024 versus 2023. So the income for 2024 was 2.4 million and the expenditure was 2.5 million. So a loss there close to £100,000. But that was, the previous year showed a loss of 300,000. So that's a bit of an improvement. Wages are costing... We're 850,000 in 2023, 781,000 in 2024. So that's what we were saying, that we lost 9 players between the 2 seasons because we don't have long-term contracts. We've a lot of academy players now in the group, and so that's a pressure, I suppose. But on the plus side, it is helping the sustainability of the club. And the other thing that's key in the whole thing is that fans and sponsors are currently contributing £1 million a season to the total. So the fans last season contributed €553,577, and the sponsorship was 419,000. So there's £1 million of that 2.5 million being contributed directly by the fans, just on promotions. And that's why things like the fan zone, the Bitter Red Supporters Trust, and all these things are hugely important. And also how the communities view the club and how much part of the community the club is. Because if you want people to contribute £1 million, run the club. They've got to feel good about the club. They've got to feel it's going in the right direction and that it represents them. And that's really interesting. Now, Tommy Higgins, who's the chairman of the club, was saying the goodwill, he wrote a good line, I think, says goodwill doesn't pay the wages. And he is saying that we, Sligo Rovers, have to look at alternative funding sources that doesn't damage the club. So I'm not sure exactly what he means by that, but some people think it's maybe the German model where you do concede some control of the club without going over the 50% or whatever. But you can see how difficult it is, even with that low-cost system that we're running at the moment. It's still costing €2.5 million, and very quickly you can run into a loss of 300,000 or 400,000. So that I thought those figures are very, very interesting, and it just shows you how difficult it is and what a good job the people in the club are doing. To be honest, we very much appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure listeners to this podcast, it's everyone knows it's primarily a Drogs podcast, but we do kind of throw an eye around the league kind of every week and talk about what's going on at other clubs. I mean, there's rivalry, and we probably say things we shouldn't, but we are interested in what's going on around the league, and especially at this time when obviously what's just after happening to us, and everyone around the league knows what's just after happening to us with the multi-club ownership thing, and it's a big question on everyone's mind around these parts. We spoke about it at length last week, me and Richie, and I mean, the likes of Sligo Rovers and Bows have always come into the conversation, being the two fan-owned clubs in the league. And those figures you read out to me there are interesting, considering I think that you would have the lowest budget in the league, the lowest playing budget, lowest wage budget, as far as I know. That gets bandied around the place, and we have the second lowest budget. Is that right? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, no, you just have to assume that's true, Niall, because when you see the way it's like osmosis, where the flow of players, like we lost 9 players moving from, say, Sligo last year to Shelburne, and players moving to Shamrock Rovers, McGinty moving to Shamrock Rovers, Elliot Chapman moving to Shelburne. So obviously they're getting more money to do that. So we it's flowing from low to high. So that's what's happening. So the very fact that those players are moving is proof that they're getting more money there. And that's a problem for us. And that's what Tommy Higgins, the chairman, is saying, is that we're going to have to look at as many other sources just to shore the thing up and so that we can compete, because it's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, look, John, I know we're in the position at the moment where we're kind of in limbo land because of all the stuff that happened with European football, with the young players, like you guys of Owen Elding and Warren Davis would probably be our equivalent of that. He's up on around 7 or 8 goals. He's our leading goal scorer. He's been absolutely brilliant. He was called into the Ireland under-20s. But there's a good chance, I think, by the time the window opens, that he's going to be gone. There's a lot of rumours floating around that the likes of, say, Blackpool in the UK have been very eager. I think they were eager to get him last year, and because we got European football, he wanted to stick around after the Cup. Also, there's rumours of Bundesliga 2, some Bundesliga 2 club, and somebody in Italy, a Serie B team, are also looking at him. So I wouldn't be one bit surprised if it's announced that Warren is going. The rumour is it's like a six-figure sum. So, make of that what you will, 100 grand or more. So, look, it's just the way it is in this league. If you don't, and obviously there'll have to be some sort of a payout because he is on a contract, but that's what I mean by the 100 grand. But and some sort of deals going forward. You write stuff into his contract that if he makes his senior Ireland debut and all that, blah 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 blah. But it's a difficult one losing young players. Is there any danger of you guys losing any of your young boys? Any rumours there?
Well, yeah, exactly. You see, that was one of the things, again, that was mentioned at the AGM, because people are very frustrated. The famous Seamus Coleman situation, where he went to Everton for 60,000 and we never got another penny, is the one that sticks in everyone's mind. But we're saying that there are buyout clauses with 2 or 3 of the senior players of some sort. No one was quite clear what it was. But there's actually no real situation like that for the younger academy players. And one of the problems you have as well, Niall, is how do you stand in a guy's way when if he has an opportunity to get a bigger club? It's very, very hard for the club to say, well, we won't allow that. So I also think the players are quite clever, or not clever, but switched on themselves, is that they realise the time that Johnny Kenny signed a new contract for us, and very shortly after that he went to Celtic. His agent made sure that he had the clauses put in place in the Sligo contract that would allow him to move to Celtic. And very often those contracts are triggered just by quite a small amount of money, like you mentioned 100,000 there. I think something like that was mentioned, the Kenny one as well. Once they trigger a certain rather low figure, then the transfer has to take place. And it's the agent's job really to make sure that figure is low enough, because he has an interest in keeping the guy moving.
Yeah, very true. And I presume you'd be the same, but like, to be honest, like if Warren Davis does go, I would much prefer to see him go, as far afield as possible, rather than go to, somebody else in the League of Ireland, because that kind of sticks in the craw a little bit when you see a player. Like, I'm sure it was really disappointing for Sligo Rovers fans to see Johnny Kenny go to Celtic, but then get loaned back to Shamrock Rovers. I mean, that's a kick in the teeth as a football fan.
It is, yeah, and of course, in that situation, there's a unique setup with Dennis Desmond is in both Shamrock Rovers and Celtic. So in actual fact, in fairness to Kenny, I would think he had no real control over that at all, And so he was farmed out to Shamrock Rovers, probably as part of the Celtic family or the Dennis Desmond. And it's almost a kind of a little small multi-club ownership model that they have on the go there, But I think it's one of the attractions, though, that we have in Ireland and is a more easily accessible European entry. And I think that's why I must say, I think everyone is really disappointed for Drogheda as to what has happened, because you can imagine those players like Warren Davis, good young players, European opportunity, huge money involved as well. Winning the FAI Cup now, I was just reading that because of the European follow-through, is worth £600,000-700,000. It's worth a lot more than winning the League of Ireland, the amount of money you get from the FAI for winning the League of Ireland. So it's really disappointing that something like that has happened. And also, I was just reading at the weekend on the newspapers there, like the actual, there's almost a row between FIFA and UEFA as to the rules around the multi-club ownership. And it's probably going to turn out, it's now saying that they're predicting by the year 2030 that there'll be about 800 clubs in top flight football with a multi-club ownership connection. So I think Drogheda have just been really unlucky that they've been in at the start of something that hasn't been properly thought through, hasn't been properly put in place. I mean, just as another simple thing that they said there, the UEFA regulations on multi-club ownership have been in place for 24 years. I didn't realise that. They're just an old legislation that's there. But the world has changed since. They haven't updated them. FIFA have knocked out a club from that World Club Championship because of multi-club ownership. But then, they seem to be looking after Crystal Palace, and they looked after Aston Villa before that as well. So there's a huge mess coming up on that. And the biggest thing is if there's going to be 800 clubs involved by the year 2030, the whole thing would probably, you look back at it, it would be even more frustrating, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very, very frustrating, John. I'm a bit, there's a lot of fatigue has kicked in with the whole thing for me, because it's all that's been talked about, and even the game the other night against Cork City, we went 1-0 up in that game, really good Shane Farrell free kick, the one that we'll talk about at more length with the lads on the podcast tonight or whatever. But we showed lots of signs of fatigue, and I'm sure the players, it's been on their mind. It's all they've probably had people saying to them for the last 2 weeks. We came out the night of the night of the announcement. We came out and we played really, really well against Rovers. But then we go into the Sligo Rovers game the next Friday, and you could see that there were players with dead on their feet at the end of that game as well. And then we carried that through into last night, where there was just no energy there. And, I think the whole thing has really got to them. And Kevin's interview last night was very fiery because some supporter had a go at him from the stands, and he reacted really. He was really annoyed, and you don't normally see him like that. He's he's a bit of a measured kind of a fella in interviews. He gets a bit emotional at times, but I've never seen him so annoyed.
Yeah.
But look, when you get into the nitty gritty of it, John, like a lot of it, I don't understand the legalities and stuff like that, and it is a sick knock because that we're going to be held up as the first ever club to be thrown out, and it's just typical. Like, of course it's us, Who else would it be? Like, you know what I mean? As we said on the pod a couple of weeks ago, if we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any, you know what I mean? We find ourselves in a good position, financially on a stable footing, we hope. And then we go and win a cup, and we're doing really well in the league, and everyone's so looking forward to a European trip, and then that happens, But sure, look, we need to, bite our tongue now and just get on with it. I know we're incredibly disappointed, but there's nothing we can do. We're in a good position in the league, and we need to bring in some reinforcements now and try and stay up around that kind of top 3 and 4.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You mentioned reinforcements. We have a few guys coming in. We've a guy, Seb Quirk, coming from Accrington Stanley. These are all coming on July 1st, and we've Patrick McLean, James McLean's brother, who had a previous spell with us. He was with Glentoran. He's coming down to join us as well. So that's 2 new players we have. So have you heard anything on your side about new players coming in?
Just rumours, John. Kind of rumours I probably don't really want to repeat in public, but none of them jumped out at me as big signings. But again, you know yourself, you're going to hear so many kind of rumours between now and then. But I'm pretty sure we're going to bring in at least 4.
Right. Yeah.
And we need them because, as I said, Warren Davis might go. We don't know about Douglas James Taylor because he had his contract with Walsall extended apparently, and he's only a loan player anyway. But the hope was that he would stay for European football, but now that's gone. So we're not sure how enthused Dougie will be to kind of stick around. Anyone who knows him and anyone who meets him says he absolutely loves being here. He lives out in Clogherhead and he's really enjoying his football and life seems to be good. So we're really hoping that he sticks around. We also have Elisha Aoui, who's out injured. He could be longer term than we thought initially. So he's here till the end of the year, but he might not be able to play an awful lot of football between now and then. We had another injury the other night to a centre half. Your man Cooper went off quite early. Either looked like a hamstring or a groin. We Josh Thomas, the young lad who scored against Sligo Rovers actually. That was the first and last goal he scored because he's been out injured since. Then we Paul Doyle in the middle of the park who went off against Sligo Rovers in Sligo. That was how long ago that was? 5-6 weeks ago. He's gone for the whole season maybe as well. So we really do need reinforcements. But even bringing them in isn't going to bolster the squad all that much because we're down so many bodies,
Yes, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what other clubs. Again, you look at someone like Shamrock Rovers. They've 2 squads really, haven't they? They can bring on a second string that's just as good as what they have on the pitch. So that's putting huge pressure on a lot of us, isn't it? And now they're starting to move. They are starting to move ahead now. Although it's great that Bohemians won last night. That's nice to see.
Apparently, Bowes absolutely battered them, John. Really, Rovers couldn't get out of their own half for 25 minutes, and Ed McGinty had to go down in the box and kind of feign an injury and try and get 3 or 4 minutes of a break so they could kind of reconvene over with Bradley and try and come up with some sort of a plan. They were under that much pressure, which you don't see that very often in this league.
No. I only read what Bradley said about the first half, that they were completely off it all right. But it's good to see. It's nice to see some, not surprise results, but just a bit of movement at the top, So we're locked in for the season anyway with a kind of a very simple task, which is to try and I think we're 9 points off Waterford now to avoid the playoffs. We're 4 above Cork, so we've it all to do just to survive this season, I think. But we're happy with the way we're playing. We're playing some lovely football. So Hopefully we can get there. We'll certainly be keeping an eye out on the Drogs. So I think we still have one more game left before the end of the season, haven't we?
Yeah, we have to go back over your way, I think, don't we? We played twice in United Park now, and once over in the showground, so we have to go back there.
Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to that. And one of the things that your listeners mightn't be aware of, Niall, is that last weekend there was a League of Ireland 12-team walking football tournament at FAI headquarters at Abbottstown. And one of the 12 teams this season making their debut was Drogheda United. And Sligo Rovers drew 0-0 with Drogheda United in the walking football match. I played in that match myself. So it was great to see Drogheda joining the squad. Everyone was there: Shamrock Rovers, Bohemians, Waterford, Treaty United. So it's a whole new side of the game that's developing as well, and that's going to be hopefully a whole pool of people that are going to be interested in supporting the league and following the league, going to the games and so on. So hopefully it can only help.
Yeah, no, brilliant. We actually, a friend of ours, his name's Danny Kieran's, made his debut for the Super Drogs playing the walking football, and apparently he couldn't actually walk properly for about 2 weeks afterwards. He said he had to play a couple of games in the one day, was that right? Or the one weekend or whatever it was. He was knackered.
5 games on the one day, you know.
Jesus.
I always joke that it's just like the other football. It's the parents on the sideline putting too much pressure on them lads is what's causing the problem, Niall.
Oh, brilliant. And how do you feel after it, John? No bother to you. You're only a spring chicken.
I'm just a spring chicken. It's how you look after yourself and coming through the youth system, you know, in your 30s, 40s and 50s is what's so crucial. That's the key thing. But no, it is fantastic fun, and it's great to see the League of Ireland getting behind it. And it's another offshoot of the whole football and social responsibility movement, which is part of the League of Ireland club now. And it's about inclusion and football for people that have been excluded, people like me. So it's great to see a number of things like that happening. It adds greatly to the fun and the banter. Everyone plays in the full regulation case as well, which is really nice. And who doesn't want to play for their League of Ireland team? So it's all ahead of you, Niall, if you look after yourself in the next 20 years, you know.
20 years, yeah, I wish. I'll be nearly eligible for it in a few years, John. Classic. Well, listen, absolutely great to hear from you again, and sorry I didn't get to meet you for a beer the other night, but these things happen. Hopefully we can organise that for the next time we're over in the showgrounds.
Exactly, Niall. Great to talk to you as well, and always good to visit United Park. We always have a great time. The sun was blazing down last Friday. It was just beautiful. And so I look forward to meeting you again, and keep the faith.
Good man, John. Talk to you soon.
Cheers now. Bye.
Right, lads. So, yeah, fair bit to talk about, I suppose, but we'll begin with the Sligo game at home on Friday night, which unfortunately I couldn't make, but both of you were at the game. We'll start with you, Owen. What was your thoughts on Sligo Friday?
Yeah, I think we're a bit lucky to get the win in the end. First half, I thought we probably could have got 2 or 3, some really good chances. But nearly second half was nearly all Sligo. They were kind of unlucky not to get an equaliser, but in fairness, we held out well for it. So, look, tough week. I know you talked about it last week, so a tough week, but it was just good to get the win.
Richie?
Yeah, no, look, it was very lucky to get away with the win. I definitely thought a draw would have been a fair result, and Sligo played really well. Just even watching the back there again, the highlights today, it could have been 2-2 in the first 11 minutes, that game. It was nuts. It was absolutely really great. Draw two great chances, and so did Sligo. Luke Danson, 2 great saves. But yeah, look, I probably thought it was a game at 2 halves. I thought Drogheda were good in the first half. You know, definitely played well, and Sligo on a better team in the second half. Thought a draw would have been a fair result. But happy with the win.
Yeah, and was it a case of second half we've kind of gone into our shell a little bit and just sat back? Obviously we were 1 up, so you know we've been doing that a lot over the last while, which is kind of frustrating to watch. Did we do the same thing again on Friday?
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we all?
Yeah, we did. I don't know whether it's partly down to instruction or partly down to probably a bit of fatigue as well in there too. So, but yeah, we definitely did sit back a lot.
No, I definitely agree with fatigue. I think the team look absolutely bollocks. They're wrecked. I really do. Every one of them. You know.
Do you think both of you do you think that's kind of a lot to do with? I know we've been playing an awful lot of football lately, but is it that's obviously has an impact physically what we're wrecked, but is there a lot of emotional fatigue there as well with what's after going on with the European thing and all the nonsense that comes with it?
Yes, look, it's always there's a lot going on, isn't there? But I think the style of play we have when we do give up a lot of possession, we do a lot of running as a team. I wouldn't say there's any other team in the league do as much running as us without the ball. And it's just the way he has them set up. And he flogs them. Not in a bad way. Like, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but they really walk the socks off every one of them. And they've been doing that every game. Just a lot of chasing the ball. And like, when you play football, it's easy when you have the ball. You don't feel like you're running when you have the ball. But when you're chasing the ball, and we chase a lot of ball in fairness, lads, they're just wrecked, you know. And look, yeah, as you said, it was an emotional week as well. The players are probably drained from it. There was a lot of factors coming into it. And a lot of games as well we played.
Yeah, fair enough. Bogar, Friday had it, obviously we went into a shell maybe a bit in the second half, but had a lot of that got to do with how good Sligo were, because I've heard them getting a lot of plaudits about how well they played. They were really disappointed afterwards that they came out of it with nothing. And did they dominate, and did they make us do a lot of that running? Or, did we make them look good, or were they good?
No, I think they were quite good. I think they've had a good few games this year where they've played really well and been the better team and not getting results. And last Friday was just another one of those cases. So it wasn't a case of us being really, really poor. Like, Sligo showed lots of quality in the second half, and they were just unlucky not to get an equaliser.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And just from a Sligo point of view, can you see them getting out of where they are? Do you think they're good enough as a team? Because I know they're after bringing in a couple of fresh faces as well. Like, defensively, I think they need to shore it up. But can you see them getting out of where they are? They're in ninth at the minute.
Yeah, it's look, Cork now took a point off us obviously the other night as well. So it's like, if Sligo got a playoff spot at this stage, you'd fancy them to beat a Division 1 team. In my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
As Bob said, they play good football. Like, they are a good team, Sligo. They've been unlucky a lot of games this season. So you would fancy them now against the Division 1 team in the playoff.
Yeah, I think it'll be really, really interesting if they are in that playoff place, because I mean, there's still a chance that Dundalk could end up in that playoff, because they're Cove are only a point behind them now, and they play each other this Friday night. And apparently Dundalk have been really, really, really poor over the last few games, which is great.
It'd be great now to see them in the playoffs, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, if they get Sligo in that, I know they have to play each other in the cup now in a few weeks. Sligo in Oriel playing Dundalk, that'll be a real telltale of where both teams are. You know what I mean? Because can you see Dundalk getting out of that game? I think there's a big, big gap between the Fourth Division and the Prem at the minute.
No, there is. Yeah. Look, as we said already, Sligo played good football, and like, Sligo beating Rovers in the showgrounds this year, we haven't beaten Rovers, so Sligo a good team. Like, they'll definitely cause Dundalk a lot of problems in the cup. The only thing, it's blowing Oriel Park, isn't it? That bloody pitch.
Yeah, the leveler, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be a leveler. Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd love to see Sligo Rovers come down there and giving them an absolute pasting. I mean, it'd be a real kick in the nuts for them this season. I mean, they've only lost one game, but as I said, I've been reading up and listening to a few podcasts, and I mean, the the natives aren't very happy down there. They're all saying like this defeat has been coming. They've been winning a few games, so 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, which is grand because that's all you need to do. But a lot of people the writing has been on the wall like for them, and yeah, it would it'd be great to see Sligo going down there and beating them.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're 11 points clear at one stage, ready?
Jeez, I don't know whether it was that many.
Yeah.
Was it not that many?
I think they were definitely at least 9 at one stage. Yeah, it could have been 11.
Something like that, alright.
Right. Yeah, look, we'll leave the first division discussion there, I suppose. But yeah, look, not making excuses or anything like that, but we that needs to be taken into consideration as well. Like that was an absolutely brilliant win on Friday night, and in a game we probably didn't deserve to win. Maybe some would say we deserved to draw. Others could have said Sligo probably deserved to win the game. I don't know. As I said, I only seen highlights, but you two were there. But the players and Kevin deserve massive plaudits after the kind of really shitty week we had building up to that game. I know we had the Rovers game, but I think that Rovers game came like an hour after the decision was made about the Europe thing. So to go out and beat Sligo at home was a brilliant result.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, look, and we've said this before, but this team don't shy away. They're not going to just down tools, in my opinion. No, they always put in a performance. So it was a great win. It was a badly needed win, I suppose, as well. Lifted the spirits a bit.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good win. 3 points is all you care about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Owen, anything more to add with the Sligo game?
Not a whole lot really, just as you're saying, just good to get the win after a tough week.
And we're down a fair few bodies as well for that game, and then the Monday game, which we'll talk about now in Cork. Like we're kind of looking a bit threadbare.
Yeah, we really are. Like, what do you think about it, lads? Like, I just, like I said there earlier, they're just flogged to death, aren't they, at the minute of this team? And a few injuries don't help. But even seeing Marky come on, Marky's not fit at the minute.
No, I'd say there's a good few lads just carrying playing through knocks, I'd imagine, because I think Kev's mentioned it before, even last season, like he's had to play lads that are injured and stuff. I think that's the case now as well.
Yeah, it really is. You could see it even on Marky's face the other night, him trying to run. You can just see the pain on his face. He's, and he's probably no choice to put him on. He's no other option, really.
Yeah, not in that position, no.
Yeah, but and they put in so much effort as sort of players. Like, as I said, they don't shy away from it. Like, it's 110% with them every game. But it's really taking its toll now.
Right, so that leads me. There's 2 or 3 points on that. Like, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, Richie, it's how we set up and it's how we play. We let other teams have the ball, so we end up having to absolutely kill ourselves. And with the amount of running we do, I mean, how sustainable is that for like the next half of the season? Can we keep up this kind of tactic that what we've been employing over the last while? And again, I hate saying it, and I say this nearly every week, but such low possession numbers. I mean, can we keep up this style of play? Is that why do we think the players are so wrecked? Or there's another point of view, is that we're picking up a lot of injuries. Has that anything to do with where we're training out in Ratoath? I mean, it is an AstroTurf, but we were training on AstroTurf anyway in Diffie. We were mixing it up between Diffie and United Park. I mean, I presume we still are doing a bit of training on the grass and stuff. But has that plastic pitch over in Ratoath got anything to do with why we're getting so many injuries? I know we don't know, but I did see it mentioned during the week, probably online from somebody. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think they're training on the grass pitch now over in Ratoath. I think there's pitches over there for them to train on.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, but it's only a new thing though. Like they have been on the AstroTurf for a good part of the season. But
we have picked up a serious ton of injuries.
Yeah, and there's only us that has this many injuries. Have other clubs been suffering with injuries, or is it just us?
There has been, yeah. I know Pats have had a good few. Like your man Ramal Parner, the midfielder, he's barely played all season. He just keeps picking up injuries and stuff. But they've had, like, Forrest has been injured. They've had 2 or 3 other players injured at different times as well. So I'm pretty sure Rovers had injuries earlier on the season as well. Had a few.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't give a fuck with Rovers. They have a big enough squad. I got no sympathy for them. But,
no, me either.
yeah, but look, there was a good point. I don't know, on one of the WhatsApp groups we're on now about this Friday, Monday games. Is it too much? Are they cramming all these games in when they don't need to?
Well, obviously we don't bloody need to now because of Europe. We've got no football in July, 2 games, and we're after playing 5 games in 14 days. Like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and like, I thought it was a good point as well. Like, look, and I know it's tough for all fans and that, but the actual team to go down on a Monday night to an away game in Cork, it's not helping the league, is it? Travel wise.
No, and then another away game on the Friday then to Derry.
Yeah, it's just, look, I understand, right, Friday nights is the night of the league, that's fair enough, it's Friday. Well, a lot of lads are off Saturdays anyway, so they could travel up and have a Saturday off. But to go on a Monday game to Cork, you're probably taking a half day Monday and probably off Tuesday. Or Friday, one or the other.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't think we need the Friday, right, I understand the European games, you're fitting them in. But I just don't think there's a need for all these Monday night games.
No, I think they could do it either start the season earlier or finish it a bit later.
Yeah.
Definitely needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and there's a lot of games, like, so we're on the players getting injured here. And the games are coming thick and fast. And you know what? I'd say the managers would agree with it as well, that they just don't need the Monday night games.
Is there an element as well of, like, it's the first year for a lot of their squad playing full-time football? Like, I mean, say what you want, but, you know, coming from being a part-timer to all of a sudden, you know, you're a full-time footballer. I know that has massive advantages, and it should mean that you're kind of fitter and you're more able to, you know, play the Friday, Monday games. But there has to be an element that you need to adapt to. You know, the boys have had half a season so far of full-time football. I mean, it's a different training regime, and, you know, maybe it will take time. And also, like, the likes of Ryan, I mean, no, Ryan can't play all these games, like all these 90 minutes. He said last year he considered retiring, and, you know, maybe playing him every second game or leaving him on the bench and bringing him on for a 45 or starting him and taking him off, and that would obviously suit. Looking after him at his point in his career and stuff, at his age. I'm not saying he's old, but like by a professional footballer standards, he's at the latter end, you know what I mean? So it's tough on them. It really is tough on them.
Oh, it is, yeah. And you made some great points there, Rex. Like, you know what I mean? To adapt to full-length football, it has to be tough. You know, your body's not used to it, I'd imagine. You know, all of a sudden, like, you're walking every day, you're training every day. It is going to take time to adapt. But on the Ryan Brandon situation, he definitely doesn't need all this football.
No.
I don't think so.
No, without a doubt. Right, look, I mean, that Sligo game, it's always the same with a Friday, Monday game. It feels like weeks ago already, but so we had another game on Monday. We made our way down to Turner's Cross. Another disappointing result for various reasons, but we go 1-up through a really, really good Shane Farrell set piece. I thought he did really, really well. It kind of bounced in off the post. Keeper had no chance, up over the wall. A really, really, really good goal.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Look, in fairness, he does have that in his locker.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Yeah. Every time there's a free kick there, you know there's a chance with a goal. But yeah, 1-0 up, and we do the usual, don't we? We just sit back and we make Cork look like prime Barcelona.
Yeah, it was a tough watch. Once we went up, so yeah, great strike by Shane Farrell. But yeah, it was one of the worst games I've watched in a long time. Like, to be honest.
Yeah, and like, what is it, lads? Is it tactics by Doherty to say, right, we're 1-0 up, everybody sit back, don't cross that halfway line? is that what's happening? Or do we have the players to go and take a game on? I don't know.
I think, as you said earlier, I think fatigue came into a bit as well, particularly second half in Cork. And it was Kent going to probably be a bit too conservative, maybe he was. But yeah, it's just disappointing. Especially conceding, 94th, 5th minute.
Come here, there was about 20 seconds left, was there? Maybe 60.
Cork probably deserved it on the balance of play, like.
Yeah, that's it. And like, when you give up so much possession like that and we let teams do what they want, it's hard to deny them, isn't it? If they score or they beat you or they draw. It's hard to have like an argument to say, oh, you were lucky. Like, they weren't lucky.
No, look, and it was reminiscent of the Sligo away game where we were 2-0 up and we end up drawing 2-2, and then, down in Waterford, fuck's sake, like we got a scabby sort of 1-0 equaliser in the 90-odd minute. We did to them what Cork did to us the other night, except we weren't playing well and Cork were playing all right the other night. I'm not saying I really don't think Cork were great. As you said, we made them look like prime Barcelona, as you put it. But, I hate criticising because I'm really, really fond of this team and Kevin as a manager and all that. And I do not want to be coming on here, giving out yards about any of them, but you could not help but be really disappointed with coughing up a 96-minute equaliser, sorry. And, whatever the reasons for it, they've been through an emotional turmoil. A lot of them are devastated about the European thing, but that needs to be put to bed as quick as possible. We can't be blaming that now going forward. As far as I'm concerned, going to Derry Friday night now is a clean slate, and that's going to be a really tough one. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But, and again, like, just this possession thing, it drives me bananas. I don't care how much possession of the ball we have. We've said it a million times. We don't care if we get a win and we've had 25% of the ball. But we've also said we don't think, well, I've said it, I'm not sure about you two, I don't think going forward that this tactic is the best to employ all the time. Maybe sometimes, yes, right, lads, sit back. We have what we hold. You're away to a team. You're away to Rovers if you're 1-0 up, or you're away to Bows or somebody who are flying high. But this was a team in last place in the league that have been shattered for confidence. Like, there was a protest in the stands by Cork fans, and the energy in the stadium was awful. There was hardly anyone at the game by Cork standards. So it was a real chance to go down there and put down a marker and pick up 6 points in probably the most disappointing week of all of these lads' careers. We could have potentially picked up 6 points. We were 30 seconds away from it. So Kevin can't blame us for being really disappointed.
No, definitely not. And and as you say, look, fair enough. You're away to Tala or a Daily Mount and you want to look right. It's going to be back to the wall, isn't it? It's sit in, tight, defend. But you're away to Cork. Like, does Toddy not trust the players to go out and play? Or is his argument, well, look, this tactic so far has us sitting in the top three all season. So he has a case for it. Like, I don't think we've been in the top three this season, have we?
I'm not sure. I think maybe 1 week we went down to fourth, but we've come straight back up again the next week.
I think we've definitely haven't been in the bottom half, I don't think.
No, so he has a argument for his tactics, and it's getting success by him. Now, it's not very football to watch, we all know that. But yeah, and I think a lot of people were frustrated the other night, the way to Cork. Jesus, we should be having a go at Cork. So I think that's where everybody's getting frustrated.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but also remember the first game we played against Cork. We played really, really well down there. Should have won.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, look, I said this earlier on when we were doing this podcast. There's no easy away game in this league. No matter what like, there's not. You just don't roll up and get points. Like, teams don't roll up to us in United Park and get points. Easy.
No, certainly not. To me, lads, there's two arguments to be made here. There's the one that you just made there, Richie, right? Is this Kevin's style of play? This is the way he wants us to play, regardless of personnel, right? He signed certain players. He brought these players into the team, and he cannot be criticised for his record in, say, the last year, since last July, when he brought in a few of the loan signings, and some of the other players came to life once they came in, which is natural enough. There was a lot more competition in the squad, and certain players suited the style of play. Like Franz had a great second half of the season because of Dougie, and vice versa. Dougie enjoyed playing along with Franz. We can't just say Dougie's great and Franz was shite. He's not. He's missed, to be honest with you. I'd love to still have him there. So, Kevin and Dara went out and signed these players. So did they sign these players because they wanted to play this way? This is the way that they think is the best way for us to play with our budget, second lowest budget in the league. We can't go out and afford to sign, some real serious footballers. But then you look around the league at other teams that probably, I don't know what kind of budget, say, Waterford have. But I mean, Waterford can play some seriously good football at times, possession-based football. Right. And then the other argument kicks in there. You're going, yeah, all right, Waterford, yippee-doo. They're about 8 points or 9 or 10 points behind us. They lost loads of games. So, supporters need to kind of go, right, I'd rather be playing really tasty football, possession-based football, which is really entertaining, and not, kind of trudged, boring football when we get one up, we sit back, because it's not the most entertaining thing to watch. And yeah, I nearly had a heart attack the other night watching that Cork game. So, what do we want as fans? What do people listening to this want? It'd be great if people could comment on it when the episode does go out on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because I think it's a good discussion to have. Like, I mean, Borger, are you happy with the football we're playing where we are in the league? What's your opinion on that?
Where we are in the league, geez, absolutely ecstatic. Like realistically, we should be fighting down near the bottom, and we're so much punching above our weight. It's amazing. So yeah, look, the last probably 2-3 games in particular, performance haven't been great. I'd say there's a number of different factors between fatigue, what's happened with Europe, injuries. But geez, overall, you can't not be happy for where we are in the league.
Yeah, I agree. Jesus Christ, like everybody had us tipped to be 10th. All the bookies and a lot of pundits out there thought we're going to be in 10th. I mean, it's not over yet. There's halfway through the season, there's a lot of games to be played, and who knows what's going to happen by the end of it. Like, but I'm pretty confident we won't be dragged into that scrap down the bottom. Richie?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, I suppose if somebody said at the start of the season, right, you're going to play lovely attacking football, but you're going to be sitting in 9th all season, or you're going to play this so defensive football and sitting third and second for the season, what are you picking? Like, I know I'm picking second or third in the league. Right, fair enough. As you said, Sligo played lovely football the other night. Sligo being bottom of the league all year.
Yeah.
With a lovely football. So Watford's down the bottom. You know what I mean? So, right, you play a lovely football doesn't mean you're going to be top of the table.
Yeah.
So,
as I said, only lost 4 games.
Sorry, say that again, lads.
Well.
We've only lost 4 games this year, 3 of which were Shamrock Rovers. So we've only lost to 2 teams all year.
Yeah, and Galway was the other one.
And we're just looking at the table. We're the second highest scorers in the league. Now it's tight, but yeah, we've 28 goals. Next best was Pat's 27. Galway scored 26. Shell 26. Derry 25. In terms of conceding, there's only 2 teams with a better record, and that's only they've conceded a goal less than us.
Yeah, like it is amazing. Look, as you said, Owen, we are punching above our weight. Let's be honest. We really are. And I remember walking out of Tala last year, the playoff game after beating Bray. I said, I never want to experience this again. It's a horrible day. And I do not want to be back in another playoff next year. So to be sitting up in the top 3 all season, right? It's not pretty football. We know that. But geez, I fucking hate my lads.
You have to remember that, lad. We had 2 poorish performances over the weekend. That we got 4 points.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like, we're all been fairly negative here, but we actually got 4 out of 6 points. Like, it's think of the positive. Like,
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I
and
know.
probably should have been 6 out of 6.
Probably should have been 6.
But
And look, as Dolly was saying, look, we were probably only 30, 40 seconds away from 3 points the other night, and there would have been a different conversation.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah. And look, I do understand people's frustrations and the football and that. I get it. I do get it. I'm the same. You know, look, Greg, you said you're probably cracking up last Monday watching it. I was fit to be tied here last Monday watching it.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But I can't see the bigger picture.
Yeah, look, I mean, I certainly do not want to be coming in here and us being, you know, really negative, because I don't think we are. I think generally we're very, very balanced on how we kind of see things. But, you know, you kind of want to give a bit of a voice to people as well, because there was a lot of, to me, there was a lot of massive overreaction by certain people online. I'm not going to name any names. Some of them know who they are, but this absolute nonsense, you know, incredibly negative about how things are going. Like, these boys need to cop themselves on. You just stated the facts there. Like, we're third in the league. You know, we were up there with the highest goal scorers and the lowest conceded. You know, we've had players who've been absolutely playing out of their skin. Dennison, Conor Keeley, Warren Davis, you know, 3 of the best players in the league. Darren Markey, up until he got a bit of an injury, has been, you know, in team of the month. And, you know, we've been doing so well in comparison, to other years in the Prem. I just think some people are getting a bit spoilt, because we have been up at the top and we haven't looked in any danger of getting dragged into even mid-table, but we certainly haven't looked in any danger of getting dragged into a relegation battle. And then people start expecting us to go and, you know, overperform every week, but that's just not reality. We know what the reality is with the squad we have, and budget means everything in this league. You know what I mean? We've the second lowest budget in the league, folks, and we're third going into this game on Friday. You know, I know we've a couple of games more played than Bows, but, you know, if we can stay in and around the top 4, it'd be an unbelievable season. Like.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you're even on about a couple of games played there. We have actually points on the board from them games.
True.
You know, we have them points on the board. Bowls and the teams around us, they go and get them points still, and that's not guaranteed. You know, It's a tough league. You're not guaranteed anything in this league. You know, and there's no easy game. And look, you're always going to have a downside of the season, aren't you? We started off with so good. The first round of fixtures, flying. Absolutely. I think we're top, were we, after the first round of fixtures?
Yeah, we were, yeah.
You know, and then, right, with a decent enough second half, the second round, a good half to that, and then it started coming down a little bit. That's always going to happen. Football can change very easily. Transfer window opens the 1st of July. We've only 2 games in July, haven't we?
Yeah, one league game and a cup game.
Yeah, so there's a rest period now for us. For all we know, the team could be going off to Spain for a training camp or something. We don't know. And all we suddenly come back refreshed and ready to go again. So it can change very quickly.
Yeah, look, just before we'll talk a little bit about where we need to go and players coming in and coming out in a minute or so, but I just want to quickly just talk about Kevin's interview after the game, where he obviously was very, very disappointed, but he seemed fairly defiant as well, you know, and Kevin always backs his players, you know, he never throws anyone under the bus like another very high profile manager who left the league in the last few days. Has just been an absolute car crash, the way he's talked about his players over the last while. I mean, even when he was walking out the door, his last interview was to say that his players didn't step up in the dressing room and that it was all his energy and all that. And everybody knows him talking about Duff, but Kevin is the polar opposite to that. Like, he always defends his players. He will say defensively we weren't good and we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that, but he never throws anyone under the bus. But the point I'm trying to make is he did refer to getting a bit of abuse off somebody in the stands. And there was a video floating around then of Kevin's reaction to that abuse. And I mean, I don't know who the person was, and it should be fairly easy to identify them because there wasn't that many travelled down. But You know, I just think that's outrageous at this point of where he has taken us and where the players' heads were at, as we keep saying over the last week. Like, I mean, that person, I had a bit of a discussion online with somebody about this as well. Like, I mean, if it was just criticism of how the team played and all that, right, fair enough. I think you're entitled to be critical. I mean, Kevin and that is not infallible, and we are here to, at times, we can criticise, but, you know, roaring abuse at him at an away game like that, I think is out of order, if that's what the person done, because I don't know what they did. But there was something said about, you know, I paid blah, blah, blah to get in here. That's got nothing to do with Kevin. Cork is the dearest place in the league to watch a game. It's like 25 quid or something, which is outrageous considering the bottom of the league. But, you know, make a point to Kev if you want about how you're disappointed. I'm sure he was disappointed too, but Kevin fairly reacted back to you, man. He wasn't happy.
No, he wasn't. And look, coming up, advances that he's in the game a long time. I'm sure he doesn't mind criticism, football-wise.
Yeah.
And that's part of football. And you said fans do have a right to have a say, but there was obviously something said wrong or something bad for Doherty to react like that. It was obviously something personal, not personal, but something that was out of Doherty's control. You know, like if it was about the price of tickets, that's ridiculous. You know, but yeah, look, I don't mind fans having a go on that. Like as you said, I'm entitled to have a say in that, but there was something said bad, wasn't there? But Doherty reacted that.
Borger?
Yeah, again, I don't know exactly what was said around him, but for Kev to react like that, obviously must have been fairly bad now. Yeah, I agree. Look, we were all frustrated after that, but it doesn't entitle you to start roaring and shouting at the manager. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, look,
it'd be the same as if we're in a bad run and our own fans start booing. It'd be something like that. That is something I'd never do. And I've seen it before. You know, I'm totally against that sort of thing. It's that sort of attitude that I think it's awful. Yeah.
I think, in fairness, there is one thing with this group of players and the management team. They don't let you down. They definitely leave everything on the pitch.
No, I can't remember the last one that, geez, them lads didn't look up for it or they didn't try. I can't remember the last game that they haven't.
Yeah, no matter how bad they're playing or what's going on, they never stop fighting for that team or the jersey. So
it's not for the lack of effort. Like.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that we are sort of uniquely placed as supporters of Drogheda United in that we don't, like, there's never been, well, maybe years ago, certain managers came in and we had certain players that just weren't up to the job and, you know, you're part-time and, you know, it's difficult to criticise part-time players at times. But there has been times over the years when there was a very toxic sort of atmosphere in the stands and stuff. But, you know, in the last few years, since Clancy came in, say, like, I don't ever remember a time where, you know, even if we were, like last year is a brilliant example where we were losing week in, week out, but we knew the players were trying their asses off. And it never got to a point where, you know, Kev was being booed or the players were being booed. You know, we were losing games in the last minute. You know, we did that every bloody week for, I don't know, a month. We seemed to be either getting a win or a draw at the game, and then we ended up, you know, coughing up points, but it didn't become toxic. And you look around this league, like, Jesus Christ, Bows are the prime example of a really toxic fan base when it's not going their way. Like, I mean, Rennie was probably two minutes from getting the sack, and a lot of that was coming from the fan base. And then now he's the messiah because he goes and beats Rovers 3 times in a season, and they are playing really, really well. Don't get me wrong, but you know. Cork the other night, I know there was a very toxic atmosphere. I don't know whether that was directed. It wasn't directed towards the manager because he's only in the door, but like, it hasn't been going well for them. There's, you know, Waterford as well. Keith Long, he was getting an awful lot of stick down there as well. And I just don't think that's in our nature because I don't think we're as expectant. I mean, for me, Waterford fans booing a manager and wanting managers sacked is just unbelievable. I mean, Waterford haven't won anything in decades, like.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. Yeah, especially like to Waterford, just after coming back up from Division 1. I've been
Yeah.
there a long time. And like, fairness, somebody had a good season last season, Waterford. They should be quite happy now that they're holding up their position in the Premier League and they can kick on a bit maybe. But, yeah, no, look, and as Drogheda fans, all you want is a team to try, isn't it? Just go out there every game and give 110%. And that team does. Right, the football's not great, we've spoken that. But look, two or three players into that team could change on that. So,
But there's definitely an element of like the more success you have as a football club. And last year, ironically, where we go and finish in ninth place was one of our most successful seasons in a long time, because we won the cup and then we go and win the playoff. And from July onward, we were the form team in the league. So people kind of start expecting this now. And like at Olympic, there is a lot of sort of newer fans that only came along last year. And I'm not sure whether a lot of the kind of, negative kind of comments and all that online are from people who haven't been watching this team in the bad old days where, again, we've said this many a time, where there was one man and his dog stood on the terrace watching puke football, and that's just what we expected every week. But you still go anyway because we support the football team through thick and thin. We don't go because we're winning. We go because we're in it for the long haul, But you can see it sort of creeping in with certain people online, especially because online's toxic anyway. We all know that. You can come along online and say anything, and the usual dickhead with his Kev out stuff and all that. He thinks it's funny. He thinks it's a joke, but it is. Stuff that it's pathetic at this point in the game, because that shit gets back to players and that shit gets back to the manager. I don't care what you say. They do look at comments and they do look online, and we don't want that kind of negativity creeping in. It's pathetic, really.
oh, it really is, yeah. And look, as I said, all I was expecting this year and what I was hoping for this season was just ninth. Give me ninth position. Give me eighth position. Oh, sorry, not ninth, eighth. Give me eighth position upwards. Be very happy. Just, I said, don't want another playoff. And so far we're delivering that. Fingers crossed it stays that way. But, yeah, if there's any fan base that should be pissed off out there, it should be Pats. The money they've spent on managers and players and the squad that they have. That's a team that's underachieving.
Big time, especially if the rumours are to be believed on what kind of money that man is on a week or a month or whatever it is. I mean, Jesus, and he has a 5-year contract, and they are just absolutely shite at the moment. I mean, my God.
Yeah, and and also I had the two boys go on Cork, McGuire and Keaton, on them about $2,000 a week each.
Whoa.
Yeah, so and they're sitting bottom of the table.
And Keaton won't kick a ball again for the rest of the year.
Oh, so it's not all about throwing money at it either.
No, it certainly is not. I mean, we're living proof of that.
Yeah. So, look, as we said, we're not going over things again, but we'd love to play more attractive football. Of course we would. But we also don't want to be sucked into a relegation battle at the end of Division 1. So,
no, very true.
Look at the bigger picture, I suppose, for the minute.
Yeah, the glass is absolutely half full. I mean, the glass is actually overflowing at the minute, lads. When we think about it, we have to, take all the positives from where we are. Like, I mean, especially I don't even like bringing this up, but especially when you kind of hear during the week a certain manager leaves another club and our manager becomes sort of the bookie's favourite to replace him. I really don't think he will. I think that would be, it would really shock me if that did happen. But, you don't want any negativity around the club at the moment and give the man an excuse to walk away.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. And there is a great connection with the players, isn't there, and the fans at the minute. And there's a great connection there.
Oh, unbelievable.
Isn't there? As you said, some years now, there wasn't that connection with the team. But with this group of players and manager, brilliant. I love this team.
Yeah, look, we've all said it. Our greatest era was going back 20 years under Doolan. But to me, there wasn't an awful lot of a connection there between him and the fan base at the time. And we were getting great crowds, and we were, playing in Europe and Satanta Cups and winning our first ever I Cup in Lansdowne Road and winning a league. And I mean, my God, what an era that was. But I don't look back on that era with as much fondness as we probably should. And a lot of that stems from Doolin, because I mean, there was just nothing likeable about the man. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not, this isn't a slander on Doolin. He is as he is. But just personality-wise, I'm trying to say that I just think Kevin, he's a very, very lovable character, and he's very, very honest, and he just seems to give it more than 100%. He's just wrecked all the time after games. Win, lose or draw, you just can't fault him or the players that he brings in, and his backroom staff, and everybody involved with the club at the moment. I just find it very hard to be, critical of anything or negative, towards anything that's going on at the moment, apart from the obvious, the European thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just go back to Doolin. I think Doolin's like a fairly cold character. That was probably why. And he seemed to, just from stories you hear about players, he lacked a lot of man management skills.
Yeah.
There's a lot of falling out with people and stuff. You don't really hear much of that with Kev. But I think Kev's probably the most liked manager probably since maybe Harry McHugh.
Yeah, probably so.
And Kev's probably more liked than Harry as well. But Harry was great. I loved Harry as our manager, but I think Kev's probably more well liked than him now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mick Cook had quite a good relationship with the supporters at the time as well. But I don't think, obviously, that's been kind of tarnished a little bit over the years, because he left under a bit of a cloud. But no way does anyone touch the kind of relationship that we have with Kevin Doherty. He's the best in the world. He seems like an absolute gent of a fella, and the players have absolutely nothing but great things to say about him. And, long may it last, as far as I'm concerned, because, I see him there in the long term, and I think that we can just go from strength to strength. The more support he gets from Travella, the better things can get for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you also see the players, they're playing on their knees, actually, for him. Brennan's staring dead on his knees. But he never gives up. And that's good. He's doing that for Doherty. Now, if them players didn't like Doherty or went on with Doherty, they wouldn't bother to hold him. Playing through injuries or, they just wouldn't show up.
Yeah. No, 100%.
That is the Doherty. And then look, it's hard to judge that. Say Doherty had the biggest budget in the league and we had a great squad of players and they're playing that style of football. Then it's a different story. But he's walking on the shoestring, and he has for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we'll briefly touch on this Friday's game in the Brandywell against Derry. As we've said, look, we're down bodies. We're going to be going up there to a really tough place with, again, the awful pitch. It's the worst pitch in the league, man. The last time we played there, it's so erratic. You just don't know where that ball is going to bounce. And it's tough on the players. We're already going in there, as we said, we're a little bit battered at the moment, and we're down bodies, and it's going to be a really, really, really tough game. We've a decent record against Derry. We're unbeaten against them in 4 games now, and most of them were wins for us. We should have won the game in United Park only for a poxy kind of deflected goal from outside the box. We seem to play well against them. We seem to set up well against them all the time. I mean, they had a player sent off the last time and we ended up winning the game 3-1. What's the thoughts on going to Derry on Friday, Bogo?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. They're coming in, they've won the last 2 games, beat Shells. 2 away games, actually. Yeah, Shells and Pats. So they seem to be catching a bit of form. Again, I don't know, in terms of bodies, I don't know who's in or who's out for us. Cooper, unfortunately, looks like he could be out for a little while. So Bulger, I don't know, he could be back, he might have to step in. I think it is. I think if we get a point out of this, I think it'll be a very good result.
Yeah, I'd agree, Richie.
Yeah, it's going to be so tough now. Just as you were saying, with the bodies down and the injuries, and you don't know who's available and pitch and everything. But yeah, I'm not confident this Friday night, to be honest with you. I'm not confident. I'll not be off Friday. Moving on.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not. After the performance in Cork and Sligo, you just couldn't be, there's no way you could be brimming with confidence going up to the Brandywell, especially with them after getting 2 away games in Dublin, because they haven't performed well away from home at all until recently. And for them to get 6 points in that weekend is massive for them. And, it's going to be a big crowd there and the usual carry on. So, yeah, I don't know. And look, we're down a lot of bodies, but we need to there's another elephant in the room here. Is this going to be the last time we see Warren Davis and Douglas James Taylor? We don't know. It could possibly be.
Yeah, look, it's possible, yeah. And the next time we're out after their game, we could have 2 or 3 new players in the team as well. So we just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Jesus, I mean, it needs to be a lot more than 2 or 3, Richie. If we lose them 2, you know what I mean? You're talking about bringing in 5 or 6 if we lose 2 of our top men up top. We're already talking about hopefully bringing in 3 or 4, because we've Alicia Aoui, Paul Doyle. We could have Cooper out for God knows how long as well, and then if we lose Dougie and Warren, that's potentially 5 players that we have to do without.
Absolutely good point. Yeah, I suppose if you're losing them 2, you're definitely going to have to try and bring in 5 or 6. But,
that's a big ask.
It is. Now look, we did a last transfer window this time last year. We brought in 6, so why not again? But as Donny always says, he ain't bringing players in just for the crack either. You have to do the right players. Getting 6 right players and 5 right players is not going to be easy.
Yeah, I know, Owen, we were talking privately and you did mention a couple of players, sort of on the grapevine that might be coming in, and didn't fill me with massive confidence, to be honest.
Yeah, do you want me to name them?
Not really. I don't. Should you?
Again, they're just rumours, so I'll probably not even bother, but, apparently there was one fella training with us who was with a First Division club until recently. You can probably figure out or narrow it down by that. Apart from it'd be interesting. I think one of the positives of us only having a couple of games in July is that if some players do come in, they can probably get extra training sessions in, or we could play behind closed doors friendly or something that kind of helps them adjust in instead of throwing them straight into a league game.
Yeah, time to bed in and a good lot of training games and all that kind of thing. I mean, is there a chance we're going to end up playing Walsall again in the Travella Cup?
I don't know, because I've seen Walsall have the fixtures, the pre-season fixtures out already, and there's nothing to travel in it.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Probably too short notice, I'd say, to sort that out, maybe.
Yeah. Look, as I said earlier, I could see them going away on a training camp.
Yeah, could do.
Do we have those kind of bobs to be thrown around?
These boys have enough money. Fucking all the boys a trip, don't they?
They owe them a fucking holiday to Spain, absolutely.
Yeah.
Never mind a training camp.
Yeah, I could see it now. And it'd be badly needed.
Yeah, no, look, again, we could sit here and go around the houses about who's going and who's staying and all that, but like, it has to be said too, like, if there's an offer there for Warren and he really wants to go, you couldn't blame the lad. He wanted European football, and let's face it, he didn't set the world alight last year. He was a half decent player. This year he's kind of come into his own. He hasn't been brilliant lately either, but it's tough to replace any kind of a goal scorer. And he's up there with one of the top players in the league. But, if the chap's been great. I'm not criticising, don't get me wrong. But if he wants to go, he wants to go. And you have to, he has to go where blessing and all that. He's been great, and he's only a young boy. And it's a massive opportunity for any of these players to go, whether it's the lower leagues in the UK or Germany or Italy or whatever's been rumoured. I mean, it's the potential there for him to, go on and have a decent career financially and like sort himself out for the rest of his bloody life. Like if he can land a good move and play regularly abroad, because the money is just so much bigger everywhere else. Even in the lower leagues in the UK, the money is massive. So you'd have to just say, right, Warren, fair play to you, and we'll see you at a game hopefully in the near future, like just like Killian Phillips and all that. I think he goes with everyone's blessing. There'll be no bad blood, like.
Absolutely, yeah. Geez, if he gets a move, I wish him all the best.
Yeah.
Definitely. And look, we just don't know about Dougie. There's no point in going around that one again. He might go, he might not go. He's been retained by Walsall anyway, so there's a chance he might be loaned back for the rest of the season, and then he might go. So who knows?
Yeah, as well. And see, there's the thing with Dougie there as well, because he was on Man City's books at one stage, and it was the sell-on clause. So for somebody to buy Dougie, you have to pay Man City as well.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's not straightforward if somebody come in just to buy him. So,
Well, am I right in saying he has been retained by Walsall, so they own the player?
Yeah, they own him, and it makes sense then just to let him finish the season out with us. And
you'd like to hope that was trashed out behind the scenes, Strother saying, look, we want him here for the rest of the year, so you just retain him instead of him leaving Walsall, because that would look better for him as a player, just to say he's back on loan with us, but he's still a League Two player in the UK if he wants to move from Walsall at the end of the year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would look better for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, hopefully maybe he does stay, and then look, if Warren goes, maybe bring in 4 or 5 players, as we said, bit of luck.
It's very quiet, isn't it? I've seen Moses Dyer has gone from Galway. Did you see that? He's gone to Cambodia.
Cambodia, yeah. I think Derry City they triggered the release clause, but he turned Derry down, so he's gone to Asia. Yeah.
And I think Sligo have brought in James McLean's brother from Glentoran, and one or two other players as well. So, there's people getting a bit of business done fairly early. Like, I think Drogheda is Drogheda. We could have signed 5 players by now, and we still wouldn't know.
No. I think let's
face it, the club isn't exactly good at communicating this kind of news. You know what I mean? I think the rumours will be out there. We'll know who we've signed before the club actually bloody announce it, because somebody will go over and do a bit of a spying mission over to Ratoath. Maybe you'll do it, Richie. One day on your way home from work.
Yeah. No problem.
Good stuff. Right, lads, I think we're going to wrap it up there. So we'll do the usual and get a prediction for the Derry game. So we'll start with you as usual, Owen.
Another 0-0.
0-0. Richie?
Yeah, look, I don't like doing it, but I haven't done it all season, but I want to predict the defeat. I think we lose 1-0.
Ooh, boo.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope next week he's come on and fucking lash me for that one. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 0-0 as well, and that's really wishful thinking that we can just keep Derry at bay. And Conor Keeley, I think the Conor Keeley stats came out the other day. He's like the most blocks of any player in the league, which is absolutely not surprising considering how much pressure we put ourselves under in games. But he's just been absolutely immense. I mean, defensively, we're not getting enough praise, I don't think, for how defensively brilliant we have been. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? Every week and every season, everybody just knocks this on the team and puts us back in the air. But they always show up, don't they? They always step up to it. So, look, we're down bodies this Friday. We're definitely, we're not going to be favourites of the bookies. But that's not saying we won't go up there and do something. So, I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, and look, if we look at it statistically over, like, say, last year and even this year, up to this point, Derry are so inconsistent. And it would not surprise me if they can go away and win 2 games in a weekend away from home and then go back to the Brandywell and shit the bed. Do you know what I mean? We just don't know. We really don't know.
No, and that'd be just typical Derry, wouldn't it?
Oh, fingers crossed for that one, boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, look, we'll leave it there, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, lads.
Yeah, all right, good luck.
Cheers, boys. Talk to you.
Good luck, lads. Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck, good luck.
Before you're leaving, and the fishermen come